Hey guys, welcome.
Wait, if you've taken Uber since 2019, say it.
How many times did you and Detective Goodman, and let me ask you this first, I apologize. Who is the woman in the video?
Evelyn Jones. She was a secretary in our office.
Thank you guys for joining. We're watching the roommate who allegedly,
I believe Detective Goodman went in and
I
out.
don't think it's any longer allegedly
Twice.
now,
Went
but
in and out once, and
she killed her
Evelyn
roommate.
Jones went in and out once.
Okay. So a number of times.
Yes.
That's all I had, Your Honor. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Nelson, do you have any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Just one question. Mr. Thompson, approximately how tall are you?
6'4".
And Sergeant Goodman is roughly the same height as you?
He's a little taller, about 6'5".
No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Sands?
This is day 3.
I just want to reiterate, you said anyone that wasn't tall would rip that at 7:30, correct?
Correct.
That's all. Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Nelson, is the officer here by subpoena?
He is, Your Honor. He can be released.
Mr. Sand, do you also have him here by subpoena?
I don't, Your Honor.
All right.
I don't think so. No, we
Go
don't.
as you please. Thank you very much. You have another witness today, Mr. Nelson?
Do you, Your Honor? Just give me one moment here to get this for the evidence here. State calls Bob Barnard.
My apologies, guys. This is a long crime feed, and for some reason, it's always like a little bit choppy.
Officer Brown, if you'll come up here, please, she'll swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Over here, please, then, officer. Thank you. Once you're situated, just make sure the mic is aimed at your chin and that the little light is on. Please. Go ahead, Mr. Nelson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Could you state your name for the record, please?
Robert Barnard.
And spell your last name?
Barnard.
And are you retired now?
I am.
Okay. Before you retired, what was your career?
Just before, I was a Ward County Sheriff.
Okay. So your career was in law enforcement.
That's correct.
Could you give us a rundown of your experience in law enforcement?
I have to go back a long ways. I started in the military. I went to Minot In 1976 and 1979, I started at the Minot Police Department. I was on patrol for about 6 years, and then in narcotics as a dog handler for about 4. I spent the rest of my 31 years in criminal investigations as a detective. I was done there in November of 2010. January 1 of 2011, I started at the Ward County Sheriff's Department. The last about 2 years of the 8 years there, I was acting sheriff, and then after that I retired. So in 2019, I retired.
Okay.
Why shop at Enterprise Car Sales? Thousands of quality used.
In June of 2007, you were with the Minot Police Department?
I was
And just so we're all clear, what was your role at the time with the Minot Police Department?
detective investigator.
Okay. Just for clarity's sake, we'll be referring to you as Detective Bernard in this. I know that your last position was sheriff, but we'll call you detective. Is that all right with you?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay. Were you called on the 4th of June of 2007 regarding this incident?
I responded to this incident.
Okay. Tell us about that.
I recall that I was out in a car, City of Minot car. I was working as an investigator in the evening, and I heard a call come over the radio of an unattended death. Ambulance and fire had responded along with some patrol. And I don't remember how far away I was from the call. I think I was a little ways away, but I knew that they would need an investigator there because we sent an investigator to every unattended death call. So I started to head that way.
What happened next?
I arrived on the scene, and I remember seeing a couple of patrolmen there. Chuck LeBoy was the one that I remember talking to primarily. I think Shane Haug was there, and another patrolman who was in training, as I recall. I don't know his name. And he apprised me of the fact that ambulance and rescue had been there and left, and that in the apartment they found a young female who was deceased in a bed, and they felt that it was suspicious.
And what happened next?
He told me that there was a group of people over to, we were standing in a grass area between buildings. I'm trying to visualize this. To my left, and it was described to me
My apologies, we're having technical difficulties. I think it's the feed. Like on the it's the feed.
It turns out there is one scent that women just can't.
I would jump on him for sure.
I couldn't keep my hands off him the whole night.
So what would you do if your boyfriend was wearing this cologne?
Do you recall doing press releases from the Minot Police Department in 2007 and 2008?
I recall, I don't remember what was on them, but I remember releasing information, sure.
Isn't it true that you did a press release in August of 2007? Sent to the, well, I'll call it a press release, Mid-State Organized Crime Information Center. Your conclusion in that press release is that the murder weapon was recovered at the scene. Isn't it true that you were looking for a Native American male in his early 20s, approximately 6 feet tall?
Well, that wasn't a press release, I don't believe.
What was that?
Well, MOCIC, Mid-States Organized Crime Information Center, is a conglomeration of information packet for law enforcement agencies. So you would share the information of a crime that you had with them in hopes that they would disseminate it to agents, law enforcement agencies that might have similar information and be able to contact you and say, hey, we had the same thing happen in our town or something.
But you didn't send them something looking for a 5'5" blonde girl. You sent them something looking for a 6-foot Native American man in his early 20s.
That's correct. That's somebody we were trying to locate at that time. You're correct.
Right. Okay. And that the murder weapon was recovered at the scene.
Right.
Okay. On October 7th, did you do a news release?
I'd have to see it. I don't remember.
Did you take a look?
Yep, this appears to be from me, and it is dated October 7th, 2008.
Did you take a look at the contents?
Yes, I recall that. Mm-hmm.
In the press release, it's true that you're looking for a 200-pound male, 6'3" to 6'4".
Someone who was described to us like that, yes.
Okay. Running from the area of the homicide.
Correct.
Okay. How tall do you think Nichole is?
I don't know. 5'6"? I don't know.
Female?
Female, obviously.
Not 6'3", 6'4"?
No.
Not obviously Native American?
No.
Okay. In fact, in this news release, it's true that you had a local artist do a rendering.
Yeah, I called the university art department because we didn't have a artist available, and they sent me an art student.
Okay. Did that rendering look like Nichole Rice?
No, not at all.
Or did it look like a Native American? 6'3", 200-pound man.
It looked like a 200-pound man. And I don't know if he looked Native American to me, but he looked like a 200-pound man.
I've read through a lot of evidence in this case, reports, things created by law enforcement. I've gone through all of it. My whole office has, because this case is important to us.
Is there a question here, Your Honor?
I'm just about to.
Mr. Nelson, it's his cross-examination.
Isn't it true that you concluded that easy access could be made through the bedroom by cutting the screen and going in?
I wouldn't say easy access.
You wouldn't?
No.
If I showed you a report, might that help you a little bit?
I'll review it.
Sir. Sure.
I want to buy your house. If you need to sell your house,
Like, what is up with long crime? Their feed is so bad. Oh, we're gonna skip to day 5 or 4 and see if that's better. Sometimes they get better over time, but this is ridiculous. Let's see.
Also, as stated and in the pictures, you can see the bed is right there. You don't have to touch the floor to get in there.
Reviewing the case, it sounds like Hall's a professional break-in guy. Is this something that would be difficult for somebody like him?
Hard to say, it's hard to say that he's a professional, as the prosecution stated. He's not real good at it. He gets caught, but he was a young guy at the time. I think it's definitely
Marty and L's personal life after reviewing the case?
He had issues in his personal life, reported to be an alcoholic, had been in and out of jail, some minor drug use, relationship issues. It was reported that he was never the same after Anita died. He had a collection of knives that he kept in a box. And at one point he told his best friend, Vern Olson, that he had done something really bad but didn't elaborate on that. And it was the next day that he killed himself.
And it's fair to say, after reviewing the file, that Marty said that he was never the same after Anita's death?
That's what he told Vern Olson in the audio that I listened to.
Now, Sergeant Asham had also testified that Marty had no means to commit this crime. What are your thoughts on that statement?
Can you repeat, please?
Yes, Sergeant Asham had testified earlier that Marty Annell had no means to commit this crime. What are your thoughts on that statement?
I'm not even sure what that means.
Okay. As an investigator, do you think that Marty had the ability and the access to be in that apartment?
Yes.
Now, moving on to the final suspect that you had mentioned, Mr. Hall. What did you learn about Devin Hall in your course of reviewing this case?
So Devin Hall arrived in Minot on June 2nd. There's some dispute on that, but by everything that I've reviewed, it's my assertion that he arrived in Minot on or before June 2nd.
Okay. Now, you testified that there's been testimony about June 2nd. Do you mean that there's been testimony that he arrived the following day?
Yes.
Okay. Why do you think that he arrived on June 2nd or earlier?
Well, he said so in his first interview, and then later changed it to, well, it was the 2nd or 3rd, and then later changed it to, well, it was the 3rd or the 4th. I reviewed documents and listened to testimony that Nova Wetsit, I believe his aunt, said no, it was on the 3rd and provided a video in support of that. However, the time stamp on that video is, I believe, January 1st of 2000. So the date had not been set. There's nothing to indicate on that video what the date was that it was recorded. And the copy that I read is a digital copy of an analog tape. So it was VHS, it's been converted into digital. There's no metadata, there's nothing to authenticate the date of that. Now, I've scoured that video for any kind of clues of when it could have been taken. You know, somebody holding a a newspaper or anything. You know, the print would be awfully fine. But I didn't see anything.
And this video is from the train station?
This is from this train station.
And isn't it true in the video that never shows Devin Hall getting off the train on
Objection on their leading.
Overruled.
So the video shows a group of people walking from the train, but I never see them getting off of the train. So I see a group of young men, actually a lot of people, and within that group of a lot of people, this group that she seems to be focused on, and the camera is not very good. It's all over the place. I believe that's him walking away, but I don't know if he got off the train or if he met those people and is now walking to gather with his family.
And you had an opportunity during the case, or during the course of your investigation in this case, to review the train records, correct?
I did.
Do you remember them verbatim, or would it help you if I refresh your recollection?
I'll look at it.
Yeah. Your Honor,
That's not the way it works. Ask him the question, Mr.
Sure, Your Honor. Do you recall looking at the train records?
I do.
Do you remember them verbatim?
No.
Still not the way to ask the question. He doesn't remember them verbatim. Do you have a question about the train records?
Sure, Your Honor.
Ask it.
After reviewing the train records, do you recall the dates that are on those train records?
There's a variety of dates, one of which is June 2nd and June 3rd.
Okay, on June 2nd, do you see Devin Hall's name on the train records?
I do not.
Do you see other people's names from his group on those train records?
I do.
Do you recall those names?
Jaron Vivier, Nova Wetsit. I believe there's a couple others, but I don't recall.
Now, that's not 100% what I'm seeing. Would it refresh your recollection if I showed you a copy?
It would.
Your Honor, may I approach?
You You may.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Did that refresh your recollection?
It did.
Coons? You had stated that you had seen Jaron Vivier on these records. Isn't it true that he's on these records in May, right?
Correct.
He's not on the train in June, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, he's at the very top, and that's a different date.
And after looking at this, is it fair to say, or did you see Devin Hall's name on it?
I did not.
Okay. And did you see anybody's name that you recognized?
I did.
Who's that?
There's a couple of Wetsits on there. I believe there's a Romero that I recognized. I feel like he was one of their friends or family, but I can't recall for sure.
Those two individuals were on the June 2nd train,
Correct.
which is Saturday.
Correct.
See, this live stream feed live is way better
There's
than
been
it is
testimony
when it's
that
saved.
Anita wasn't killed until the early hours of Sunday morning, correct?
Correct.
So that would give that group time to get to Minot.
It would.
Whether or not Devin Hall's name's on this, if he was traveling with that group, he would have been in Minot by the 2nd.
Correct.
There's been some testimony about Mr. Hall's arrest in Minot a number of days after Anita's murder. Do you recall that?
I do.
Did you look into that at all in your review of the case file?
Yes, I did.
And what are your thoughts on that?
So on June 11th, Mr. Hall was arrested. He had broken into an apartment through the window and attempted to sexually assault a woman there. She cried out. Her boyfriend came running in, chased him back out of that window. A fight ensued. He ran away again, entered yet another apartment in the same complex, and was ultimately caught hiding in a closet with a steak knife in his back pocket.
Was he taken to jail after that?
He was.
In your review of the file, did you find anything about jail calls?
I did.
What did you find out about that?
Several jail calls were recorded to family members. I believe there were 2 family members on one call, and then there was a separate call. In both instances, he claimed the knife as his own, and not just any knife. He said that was his knife.
Now, during a review of the file, have you had an opportunity to look at photos of the murder weapon, the knife in this case?
I have.
Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
Now, Agent Coons, I'm going to put, am I getting picked up here? Thank you. Now, Agent Coons, I'm going to show you a couple photographs that have already been entered into evidence in this case. They're State's Exhibit 7I and 7J. Can you please take a look at those for me and then let me know when you've had a chance to review them?
Yes, I've seen these.
Can you please explain to me what I just put?
This is the murder weapon, the knife that killed Anita.
Okay. And is this the knife that Devin Hall identified as being in his possession?
He did, and it's very identifiable in that it's missing the emblem on the other side. So I know a lot of these knives were made, a lot of them were sold. I don't know how many were sold in the state of North Dakota or Montana, and I don't know how many of them would be missing exactly the same medallion that he agreed was missing from his own knife. So this is the knife that Devin claimed was his.
And I'll keep those up there with you. Is the missing medallion the only thing that's unique about the state of this knife?
No.
What
I mean,
else?
it's pretty, I've never seen one like it until this case. It's a folding pocket knife. It's fairly large. It's got a decorative handle. It's kind of copper colored. There's many things that are unique about this knife.
Now, Sergeant Asham had testified that this is a very common knife. What, in your experience as an investigator, what is the coincidence of something like this, the missing medallion, knife being used in a murder, and then another person possessing the same type of knife that had a missing medallion in a case like this?
Astronomical.
Can I have those back, please? Agent Coons, can you describe, well, first of all, have you seen photographs of Devin Hall?
I have.
Can you describe him to the court?
He's over 6 foot tall. I think 6'2", 6'3", maybe at most. 6'2", I believe. 200 plus pounds. At the time, well, can you specifically now or then?
At the time.
At the time, he looks fit. About 200 pounds, 6'2". Short hair, dark hair. I don't know what color his eyes are. It matches this description given by Becky Ehrman of a person that she saw running away from the scene that night.
Now, I had asked you if you'd seen photographs. Have you also reviewed descriptions of Devin Hall in the case file and reports and such?
I have.
Now, you mentioned Becky Ehrman. There's been testimony about Ms. Ehrman seeing a man running away from the scene with what could have been a bloodied shirt, a dirtied shirt.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that?